research at PhD level requires a lot more than what we have currently at the University of Nairobi. And I had a blessing of being a part of a network called AMSEN. AMSEN, which is part of RISE, paid for my PhD research. They gave me a scholarship for the PhD. You know, PhD opportunities are available, but PhD opportunities that you do your research in your home country, usually they're not very many. So, you know, RISE provided that opportunity that I could do my PhD here in my home country. And of course, then there was the advantage that I didn't lose touch with the industry. You know, as I was doing my research, I was also able to teach a bit and to do some bit of consultancy as well. I think is a wonderful experience. Is excellent opportunity that it provided on several fronts. One is the access to other institutions and whatever equipment that they have for research. The equipment that we use is expensive. It's very expensive, and sometimes it's difficult to find all of it in one institution. So the idea of pooling equipment, you know, bringing together several universities and sharing the equipment is an excellent one, because it enables students like the way I was to access such equipment at a fairly lower cost. The other thing that I saw was a great advantage was the networking with other researchers in the particular areas of study. For example, I had access to a professor of material science from the University of Namibia, and of course also students, PhD students, MSc students that we got to interact, you know, in conferences and stuff like that. It was a really enriching experience. To have funding is one thing. To have access to the right equipment is a totally different thing. Were it not for the network that I got to study in, you know, under, it would have been a big challenge.
I've started running training workshops, and we've been training students in microscopy from South Africa, surprisingly. Under the RISE initiative, we had students from University of Namibia, Futa. So we had quite a few students from not Botswana being trained. I also got, for instance, some of the manufacturers to come and did some training. So I used the RISE network to leverage training from the European manufacturers, which I think is something that should be done more often. Especially we buy the equipment, and they definitely can help us to build the capacity, so you've actually can have an in-house capacity increasement. Just to send somebody for Europe for a week is different from sending somebody here for a week. The advantage is that you actually get trained on your own equipment, so you have a little bit more of security and you feel more comfortable with your own instrument. You go to Europe and they normally moved about 3 models ahead already. So when you come back, the software is different, the buttons are different, and you're struggling.
My mom was a teacher, and for her, education was everything for us. It was like, I can't give you much, but I will ensure that you get education. So from an early age, education has always been the key thing in my life. Okay, one, I had to walk to school without shoes, which was a major thing. So you're exposed to things like jiggers. There's no piped water, so you're drinking dirty water. And there were many problems, even things as simple as having your monthly period. You would have to stay home for 3 days because you don't have the necessary facilities to take care of yourself. So you miss school. So those are some of the things that I faced. I know if I make it, and the fact that I'm coming from a marginalized area, and the fact that I have managed to struggle to reach this level, I think that in itself is an incentive even for those at village level to know that if they pursue, if they have an objective and they pursue it, they are going to achieve it.
The concept is that human dignity is linked to water. Yes. So you cannot be talking about human dignity without access to adequate water of good quality. In recent time, I have now recognized the importance of value system and ethics in the social aspect, so that if people are going to work towards freshwater resource management, you need to understand the value system that underpins their behavior. Allow people to work towards a common outcome in achieving freshwater resource sustainability. So you combine the ecology, the biophysical aspect with the social aspect.
I think in 10 years' time, I would see myself as very grounded in my field of research. In 10 years' time, I think I'll see myself having contributed much to science and development and to policy and practice in general. And I think there's a bright future, for young scientists, especially on this continent.
Science-led development is very, very important, especially in Africa, because we are still, if we compare ourselves to the developed countries, we are still on a journey. And through this journey, we need to carry science along with us. All these problems that we are encountering, for example, if you want to look at climate change, what is it really about climate change? Why is it so much of an issue? And for us to be able to address this kind of a problem, we need to be able to identify the core causes, what are the scientific things and so forth. And this is where the scientist now needs to be able to find ways to convince or to persuade the kind of a belief that one has, that look here, this is what is happening. And for us to have a better environment, let's do it this way. Yes, science really has a role to play, in fact, in every aspect of life.
I think anything is developed better when you work with people who know more. On your own, you're limited to just yourself. So if you know someone who knows a little bit more about something and you bring something else to the table, that's always better than trying to venture out on your own. Africa's lucky in that there's room for growth. And we were speaking earlier about development. Which way can development go? We could go all first world, or we could make our own steps and decide what does development mean to us. So that's a big question, but I'm excited.